Hello there, and thank you so much for clicking on my video today. My name is Rabbit, and my pronouns are they, them, and today I wanted to basically do a video that I've gone back and forth on doing like a lot of times because part of me is like, it's 2020, everyone knows this, like you're just like saying stuff that doesn't matter. And then the other part of me like recognizes the way I still struggle with my own like feelings around hair and gender and capitalism and how I modify my appearance and what that is feeding into. So I decided I'd just do a talk today about it. So I'm guessing you've seen the title of the video. Today we're talking about like body hair and capitalism and the gender binary and how they all are connected. Alright, I'm gonna use this essay that I wrote back when I was in university as like my notes for this because while my thoughts on gender have changed since I wrote it, I still stand by it, and I'll put a link in the description if you want to read it, because I did post it on Tumblr a while ago, so check that out if you're wanting to, but it's written in pretty academic language, which is why I wanted to make a video about it instead. So, let's get into it. So what I want to talk about today is the norm of feminine hairlessness, like the practice of ritually like removing your hair as like a feminine coded person, as in someone who's been defined either by the system as a whole as a woman or who takes that label on for themselves, because I personally don't subscribe to that label, but lots of people will put it on me and then will judge me based on that label and the fact that I have like visible body hair and stuff. Basically, the thesis of this video is that the norm of like of always removing body hair and like having it as this really taboo topic that's like gross and like considered unsanitary actually just functions to line the pockets of corporations to keep people ashamed of themselves, like feminine coded people specifically, and that's the term I'm using for like people that are defined in the like category of women, and like enforce patriarchal control. And I should probably define patriarchy for the video. So it's the system that affords rights and privileges to people based on categories of like being a man, being white, being cis, being able-bodied, being straight, and like so on and so forth. And it's one of the systems in this case that basically normalizes it for men to more or less do nothing or very little with like removal of body hair. Like it's really just face and like manscaping sometimes, while like really strictly kind of enforcing this norm that like all women should be hairless, and if you're not, you're like gross and you're a freak and like whatever. And one of the reasons I also wanted to make this video is because I do get these kind of comments on my videos sometimes that like, oh, that's so gross and like you should be ashamed. So for anyone who's feeling that, you're welcome to leave a dislike, exit, you know, whatever. A lot of different things that are required of feminine coded people that aren't required of masculine coded people, or that even if they aren't required, they're very like, we are pressured in lots of different ways to adhere to them, like makeup and having hair look a certain way and dressing a certain way. And though that kind of can apply to everyone on a certain level, there's more criticism and I feel like backlash when you are feminine presenting and you are like hairy or not wearing makeup or have shitty hair, like whatever it is, versus if you're a dude, or seen as such in normative society, you know what I mean? So when I was writing this essay, we were talking about The Personal is Political, which is this 1969 essay by Carol Hanisch that talks about how like personal problems that women experience can be seen as a microcosm, like a smaller version of larger patriarchal problems. And when we like trivialize them and like treat them as like, oh, that's just personal, that's just like affecting you and you don't have to worry about it, it prevents us from seeing the fact that like lots of us are experiencing them, like lots of us are feeling shame or guilt or pressure or embarrassment around having unwanted hair. For me specifically, I developed trichotillomania over my like teenage years, If you don't know what that is, it's tied into an OCD diagnosis, but it's basically an obsessive hair pulling disorder, and I struggled with it for a really long time, and I'm still like struggling with it, and it's okay. But when I started exploring it and thinking about it harder, I realized that it all stemmed from this place of feeling like a lot of shame and guilt around the fact that I was hairy, and a lot of like self-disgust and self-repulsion, because I felt like I'm a woman, like I shouldn't feel this way, because at this point I thought I was cis and like whatever, it's fine. But basically I found out that all that disgust and guilt and stuff wasn't mine. It was socially produced through a system that I didn't agree with. And the only way that I think we can free ourselves of like systems like this that seem really benign, like it seems like, oh, whatever, it's fine, it's just shaving your armpits or whatever, is to explore them more thoroughly and really investigate, like, do I want to do this? And I'm not saying that you have to grow out your body hair. If you love shaving, if it's your favorite thing, like, that's fine. Like, you don't have to, like, justify it to me. I understand. This just is a video that I wanted to make because it's very weird to me, the amount of pressure that is put on removing body hair, and the amount of pressure to me is correlated directly to the gender binary, which is the next thing I want to talk about. Anyone, everyone, for the most part, I mean, some people have like no hair growing abilities, and that's fine, but for the most part, most people have the ability to grow hair all over their bodies, including on their butt, on their belly, on their hands and toes, like their knuckles and their toes and their nipples and whatever. And it shouldn't be seen as this like gross, disgusting thing, because it's really not. However, the gender binary, which is a system in the West that basically categorizes you more or less from birth or before birth as either a man or a woman, kind of ends up socializing people as they grow up what it means to perform a certain gender. So if you're coded like a woman, some of the things that it means for your appearance, it means that like hair should be expected to be this way and makeup should be worn, and like once you hit puberty you should start shaving, and like, you know, there's all these expectations that like maybe aren't said to you verbally, and like no one is explicitly like pointing a gun to your head and like forcing you to shave, but there are like these external pressures that we can feel. One of the things that our capitalist system does is control individuals by controlling a lot of their appearance and how they have autonomy over their body. If you have experience being in certain high schools or professional jobs or wanting to get into those areas, you may have heard or experienced the fact that like you have to look a certain way in order to be accepted. Even though like what is okay for a body is like very highly subjective, but it's like described and seen as objective like through medical and like governmental and like social practices. And what is considered appropriate, like an appropriate body for feminine coded people, requires a lot more time, money, energy, and effort than an appropriate body for masculine coded people. Even if you don't meet standards, oftentimes as a feminine coded person for these appearance norms, you can be shamed and policed and mocked into conformity, and it can really suck. And I just remember being like a younger person and being like mocked and stuff for like having a unibrow or a mustache and stuff, which is just a thing that like I can grow a unibrow, I can grow a mustache, it's fine, but like it's seen as such like a gross and taboo thing, and it really isn't, because hair growth patterns are really individualistic, and it really like how much hair you grow on your body is going to depend on how old you are, your hormone levels, the balance of like estrogen and testosterone that you have, because everyone has a little bit of both for the most part, or some of both, you know, your quote-unquote race, your genetics, just basic hormonal factors that are in your body that have to do with hair growth. Like all of these things are going to determine like where your hair growth is going to happen, and it has much more to do with those things, I believe, than it does with gender. But the way that like this hairlessness norm is set up in our society, you would think that like women are just like naturally these like hairless cats basically, and men are these like forests that are just like so naturally hairy. Sorry if that was a horrible metaphor, but you know what I mean. Basically, women, for the most part, have like follicles for mustaches, beard hair, armpit hair, leg hair, all these things, but they're only considered masculine in our society, and like as soon as you grow them, it's like, oh my god, this is such a disaster, and it's really not. So, moving on. Given that basically any gender can grow body hair, why is it that like women's body hair is seen as like so unsightly and gross? Well, we can look at like historically and like in old art and like paintings and folklore, we can see that like hairiness in women was lots of times associated with like madness and like witches and like basically like out of control sexuality was a thing like associated with like women and body hair. Basically all these like negative things, where it's like hairless women were like very like serene and virginal and not serene, virginal and beautiful and seen as desirable and stuff, right? Whereas masculine hairiness in these same sorts of historical pieces has been associated lots of times with virility and strength, this good manliness, right? So those are the things that have carried on historically and just like been imprinted in our culture. And it's not just, so like that's maybe where it may have started, because even in the 1800s, it was like if you had like facial hair as a woman, it was seen as like an abnormality and you had to remove it, and they had lots of like different like tweezers and acidic things that you could put on your skin to burn off the hair, like Veet, which I have a horrible memory of like applying it all over my arms as a kid, and it just stank up the whole house, and my mom was like, what is happening? And it's horrible. It's freaking really shitty when you're not able to, when you feel such a lack of control around body hair, which is why I've just chosen that I don't give a shit enough to bother with it. It's been very recent that the norm of removing large areas of body hair for women has been normalized. So basically the first women's razor that was marketed towards women was released in 1915, and it was by Gillette, whatever, and it was called the like Milady Décolleté. It was very like this like fancy like dainty thing. And the reason that it was marketed towards women was like, well, first of all, less conservative clothing restrictions were starting to become more normalized, so larger areas of the body were shown. But more than that, much more than that, it was World War I at this time, and lots of men were off at war, and therefore razor companies couldn't sell men their shaving products for their faces. So what did they do? They were like, oh, guess who's home? It's the women, the wives. Let's tell them that their armpit hair and their leg hair is disgusting and that they need to get rid of it, or else they're a horrifying monster of a hairy beast, you know? The way that companies advertise also like the razors and the bombs and the laser removal and the wax strips and the hot wax and the cold wax and the depilatories and the tweezers and all these different things, is that they make it seem like it's just so feminine and it's so enjoyable and it's so easy and it's so natural and I'm a Venus, like, but like truly, really, it's just a freaking marketing ploy. I'm sorry. And the way that they make the idea of hair so taboo that they can't even show it in commercials, like, just functions to make the consumer and the viewer that's watching it just like internalize this sense that like any hair is absolutely unacceptable and that they need to spend their money to try to basically fix themselves, because under capitalism they make the body into this project that constantly needs fixing, and the entire purpose of that is just to sell you stuff. So let's just all collectively be like, I only am going to do the appearance modification that I like, that appeals to me, that I want to do. There's also this this association of hairlessness with like this childlike status that lots of times is afforded to women. Like if you think about the fact that like before puberty most people are hairless, and women are expected to remain hairless throughout adulthood. Some people have theorized it's basically related to the historical and cultural patriarchal pattern of like always viewing the feminine as like lacking and like undeveloped and like not quite as adult and mature as like masculine men, like that get that status afforded to them. Then I want to talk about the fact that feminine body hair is like often is often perceived as like unsanitary in a way that men's body hair isn't. Like it's treated with the same disgust as like blood and shit and sweat and like these kind of things, where men's body hair is just kind of seen as like normal. So this basically adds to that like intense sense of pressure on feminine coded people. But also it's this concept is really tied up with racism, because more visible and pigmented body hair is seen as like much more disgusting and dirty than like blonde body hair. So that's just like some food for thought, because racism and like white supremacy does truly infiltrate every aspect of our lives, and we need to be like constantly vigilant as to like combat it all the time, because it's part of like the way that the world works. So lots of cis women in heterosexual relationships, I understand, I have heard, that they feel pressured to hide their like razors and their waxing and their tools of transformation from the men in their lives. Basically, even the fact that you have to remove your body hair is seen as shameful. So it's like this double punch of culture being like, growing it is shameful and removing it is shameful. So you don't want anyone to know that you even like, that this even exists. Like it's clouded in such a thing of like, this is so taboo that we never show it on screen. If we do show it on screen, because sometimes women with body hair are in media, and guess what happens when they're in media? They are so often used as like mocking and tokenizing, and look how ugly and disgusting this woman is because she has body hair. So super fun. Oh, and the other thing is that while all these companies and products and things exist for you to depilate and like remove your body hair to fit in the standards that you are expected to fit into, spending money and spending time and doing these things for yourself is also seen as like vain and like, oh my god, she's so self-indulgent if she like cares so much that she spent that much on laser hair removal. Laser therapy is what my cat needs for her arthritis. It's a different thing. I'm sorry. Basically, though you are expected to be hairless, spending time and money into achieving that is also seen as like gross and how dare you, and you vain woman. So what the F? Double whammy. I'm just trying to point out these like assumptions and ideas that are mainstream about like how bodies work and how the gender binary works and like whatever, just to, I don't know, because it makes no sense to me. and I think that the way that it currently is, it has the potential to control a lot of people's lives in a way that I don't think they should be feeling controlled and stifled and whatever. Like, if you want to grow out your hair, you should be able to. I get so many questions on Tumblr like, how do I do this? And it's like, just do it. It's fine. You can. Anyway. Yeah, shaving products and hairless depilatory products, there's a million of them, like shaving cream and shaving balm and aftershave and hair bleaches. Did you ever bleach your mustache? Was it just me? No. Hot and cold wax, depilatory creams like tweezers, buffing tools, electrolysis, laser treatments. Basically, with all the products, there also comes an expectation of specialized knowledge from feminine coded people to absorb about like how to not cut yourself shaving, how to properly do it, how to wax your mustache, how often you need to do these things. Like, it's a lot of brain space and money and resources and mental energy that goes into it, and this is just one small part of like the routine that most like feminine coded people are expected to partake in. Like, just hair removal is just one of the many things, so like you can see how it builds up, and it's unfair. When you do have like razor burn and shaving bump and whatever the F, then that's also gross and that's not okay. And so you it's this like constant from every side, which is one of the things that I want to talk about, is that it like, okay, one of the things that I learned about in university, I'm sorry if this is boring, but is the concept of the panopticon. And basically it's like, if you picture a glass prison that has like a guard tower in the center, and there's like a guard that can like look out and see everyone, it gets to the point where the prisoners, since they feel like they could be watched at any moment, they are self-policing all the time, which is what capitalism, the system, does to us as a society. I'll link some videos that explain it better in the description. But basically, we are constantly surveying ourselves because we feel that other people are going to be constantly surveilling us, even though they lots of times aren't. And while it seems that everyone and no one at the same time is enforcing like appearance norms on us, like there's no public sanctions against body hair, but at the same time there is this sense that like just hairlessness is how things are done, and that all really contributes to the invasion of feminine bodies that like we don't have to submit to if we don't want to. So I'm saying we, even though I don't really consider myself like whatever, it's complicated, I'm non-binary. In the end, there are all these normative expectations that just tell you that you have to be hairless. There's disciplining, like brainwashing basically by the media, by showing always like hairless bodies and like shaving commercials being framed in this like sexy, beautiful, natural way, that and rewarding people, like socially rewarding people that do adhere to these norms, all contributes to these beauty standards, which then end up like mocking and excluding people that don't participate in them. Also, this is classist AF, because lots of times if you don't have the money and time and whatever to, dedicate to this stuff, you're mocked and punished for it socially, and it's just like this cycle of like keeping poor people poor. Basically, the mainstream norm of hairlessness is at the moment really beneficial to corporations, which can also get like woke points by like being like, look, we are showing body hair in commercials, because this commercial did do that. It was like Billy in like 2018 or something, and like it was fine, but it was still being like, we'll sell you razors so you can choose, but still the point of a razor is to freaking shave, so like thanks for the choice, like you're still a corporation, like corporations aren't your friend. I just need us to be on the same page about this. Basically, there's this constant burden of an expectation to alter your body to maintain a constant state of seemingly natural hairlessness, and it's just not the reality. We don't have to contribute to it. It just serves, or in my life, from my experience, it has only served the patriarchal interest of upholding the gender binary and maintaining norms of the feminine as like passive and decorative and immature and in constant need of modification. Now, if you love shaving and it's your fave, like I said, that's great. If you think I'm gross and this video is gross, that's fine. Leave a thumbs down on your way out and a mean comment while you're at it. If you enjoyed this video, or you feel differently about anything, feel free to leave your comments. Maybe this is like the latest thing ever and everyone's like, yeah, we all know it's 2020, like whatever, but I just thought I'd throw in my 2 cents. Thank you so much. If you got to the end of this video, that means the world to me. I hope you're having an amazing time. Please wash your hands, wear your masks, stay safe, and I'm giving y'all a virtual hug. So bye for now, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.